What's up, everybody? Cats007, and today bring you guys the part 2 of my tier list. A little disclaimer, as I've stated before, this is based on my tournament experience, my personal experience, and my experience as being a top hunter. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, the way I categorize this and all of the hunters is based on consistency. Their potentials, their abilities, and speaking of non-meta, non-meta is placed where they are now because of the meta. Meta survivor wise, like Gamekeeper, Mercenary, Mechanic, Zero Forward, etc. Some of these characters have a very hard time countering some of these stuff. And this is why they're placed in this tier compared to the other ones like Bon, Axe Boy, who can literally counter the meta with their abilities. Non-meta hunters, or the hunters I have below here, struggle a lot. I'll give you a really good example. There is this top Ripper player named Griffin. His old name was Deception. Shout out to him. He would tell me all the times he would struggle as a Ripper main, especially regarding this meta, compared to back in the day. Like Blue Race Car and all the OG Rippers like Alien. Playing Ripper back in the day was an ease and a breeze. You know what I'm saying? But nowadays it's extremely hard, and even me being a Soulweaver main, it's hard. So regarding all of that, let's hop straight into the tier list. Soulweaver, I put her at the top of the A- tier because of her consistency. Compared to the rest of these characters in this tier list, she is the most consistent of getting draws and securing that draw, making sure that you don't lose. Now, granted, Soulweaver is very hard to master. Every single one of these characters in like the bottom of A- tier, and don't get me wrong, some A tiers and higher are hard, but majority of the non-meta is very hard to master, especially Win. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. So Soulweaver has the consistency of constantly drawing, and there are some situations where you can elevate that draw to a win. Now, if I was to put into a percentage, 80% draws, 10% wins, 10% losses. Next is Wuchang. I got a lot of comments about Wuchang. Oh, why isn't Wuchang higher? Well, Wuchang should be higher. Wuchang's OP. Well, I have a question for you. Wuchang is very strong with full presence. Don't get me wrong. However, from tournament experience, what happens when you don't feed a Wuchang? He is literally a walking hell ember with no presence that can teleport. That's it. The only way you get an advantage is if you nail that first umbrella. You miss that first umbrella, you are screwed. Did you say 100 change target? Everyone gets off their ciphers. You pallet waste, he can't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Unless they run Blink and Insolence, then yeah, you're going for like a draw type stuff, but that's not usually the situation, and most Wuchang builds don't even use that anyway. You know what I'm saying? And even if you run Insolence, you have to give up breaking pallet speed. So if you nail the first umbrella, or umbrellas in general, and you don't feed him presence, you're goated, And that's why Wuchang, I wouldn't put him above Soulweaver for consistency. You can get kited for Soulweaver for 3 ciphers, but then have 100 threads and then make it up endgame, Feaster, another character that has the potential to get rotated. Feaster, he's good. Granted, I've had a lot of comments, Feaster should be higher. Feaster's better than Soulweaver. Taking consideration of his win potential and draw potential, and him actually losing. Feaster has these tentacles, and, he builds up tentacles, so it's pretty hard to hide from him. Granted, you don't have to hide. Rotate him. If you rotate a Soulweaver, then you build up webs. You rotate a Wuchang, quenching thirst, teleport, you're done for. However, with a Feaster, you get rotated, there's nothing you can do. And then you miss like 2 tentacles, that's a 3 cipher kite. And sure, you cut off the route with the tentacles, but then all I do is just switch up the route or do something with their abilities. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think Feaster has the potential to be better than Wuchang or better than Soulweaver because of the rotations and then the pure skill of kiting. Kiting a Feaster can be hard in some scenarios, but I don't think he surpasses Wuchang and Soulweaver. Moving on to Mad Eyes. Mad Eyes make or break. Either you have a really good game or you get 4-man. 4-man or bust for either side. Like that early game, you missed your walls. You can cut people off. There's a lot of good trapping Mad Eyes. 4-Eyed Chicken, one of the scariest Mad Eyes I've ever seen in the NA server. Had this strategy where he would just, trap people insanely quickly. And that does happen if you feed him. And switching off and off of consoles, people pay attention to that stuff. All I do is just back off the cipher and just keep decoding. Not much you can do, especially against this meta. Moving on to the B tiers is Ripper. I put him at the top of B tiers because he has the potential to actually secure downs. He can secure downs very quickly. Only thing is he can get rotated. His camping potential is not great. Oh yeah, another mention about Mad Eyes. I'm going back to Mad Eyes and Feaster. You give them full presence, they have amazing camping potential. Also, to add on about Feaster, even if you have like the first tier skill of presence, they can still rescue even after like getting hit by a tentacle. They rescue instantly, El pad away. So there goes his tough potential anyway. After that huge nerf to hunters, that when abilities used, they don't get off the chair, they just rescue instantly. Back to Ripper. Ripper is really good in the concept of securing kills and finding people and downing them, but when it comes to like putting pressure on ciphers, camping potential, sure, he has like a little decent camp potential, but nevertheless, he can get rotated, he can get kited hard as well. It's like you missed that one foggy blade, you're in for a rude awakening. Same thing I said about BQ's mirrors, but BQ has the ability to pressure ciphers. Ripper doesn't. Granted, he can be very hard to kite when full presence, but you don't feed him, you're fine. And he misses that one foggy blade, you're in for a 3 cipher kite, and you just have the transition kite and you're good. Clown, you can literally dash around the entire map for 3 ciphers and not touch anybody. They stay within pallets. There's nothing you can do, And then most clowns don't even run the tension to even back themselves up endgame. They need to break those pallets. They need to secure those downs and catch up to people, and it can be very hard, especially this meta. He'll just get Cypher Rush to oblivion. Moving on to Photographer, him getting Cypher Rush, people healing, people going to different locations, and getting away from the Photographer in general. You can have really good early games. I've seen games that can be changed with Photographer in a heartbeat. Just by one simple play. And then don't even get me started on harassers. You see a harasser on that team, there's not much a photo can do. He can go back with a card trick, sure, but in terms of harassers, all he has is a blink and a dream to actually down people, and then his chase is terrible. I'm keeping it a buck with y'all. Moving on to the Lizard. Now, granted, there are some very good Lizard players in this server. However, that early game will kill you. Now, take a look at Ripper, Clown, Photo. They all have semi-decent early game potential. The only way I see Lizard ever actually, being useful in a sense is when it comes to cutting people's routes off with the jumps and then trying to get that splash when someone comes to save and getting that double hit. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, I don't think he is above his peers, such as Ripper, Clown, and Photographer. He can get kited, Clown, you can mind game with those dashes. Photographer, you down somebody in photo world, and those fog blades, you land one fog blade on somebody, break the pallet as fast as you can, and you just catch them immediately. You miss those jumps over and over, you have to rely on your presence to actually splash and hit them, so your early game is relatively bad. But his camping, however, his camping's amazing. His camping is really good if you know what you're doing. Same with cutting off routes, presence Lizard isn't bad at all, he's pretty good. Moving on to Anne, I don't think Anne is better than Lizard at all. She can get rotated pretty hard. Her camping is so-so. You have to go like 24% of the chair, then you rotate and get the save. But Anne is just a stand-up character in general. She can secure her early downs. There's a possibility of doing so. But there's too many factors that counter Anne, such as Cypher Rush. She's good against harassers. Don't get me wrong. She's very good against harassers. If she lands her cast, you can't stun at all. Cowboy Louse can actually hurt her a lot. I know with her recent adjustment, she can nullify abilities, which makes her relatively strong. But in a sense, you don't have that potential to actually secure that early down if you get rotated. You know what I'm saying? You have to walk around with those entire cats and make the best of it. Moving on to C tier, honestly, I think the Geisha nerf made her worse than she was. I honestly hate it. I know some Geishas don't like it, Sure, it's good here and there, but a lot of good Geisha players left because of it. And, you don't have the ability to swerve left and right, go aside the pallet like you used to. I mean, you can with the new ability, but honestly, it doesn't. I think they nullified her best potential. I think she was better off the way she was. Moving on to Gamekeeper, the hooks. If you're smart, you can do the Soulweaver web shot thing where you can double hook on chair with the presence. Gamekeeper, however, he can get rotated and kited pretty hard. You miss that hook, it's like a Ripper fog blade, something you can do. And his camping potential is so-so, which makes him lower than Ripper. And then Hellumber, to wrap it up, don't feed him. Don't feed him, and you can just waste every pallet and you'll never get touched. So Hellumber is probably one of the lowest in my tier list. Hope you guys enjoy the tier list. I'm Catch 007, and I catch y'all later. Bye.